So, what's an inverter? Basically, it takes some type of electric current and converts it to another type. Here, we're turning the 12-volt solar into a normal outlet plug type power. Now, just like the batteries and every other component in this electrical system, there's a lot of options when you go to look for what type of inverter you want. And with everything else, it's important that you get the right kind. There are a lot of 12-volt inverters out there, but not all are created equally. I had two that I was looking at. One, this micro solar 12-volt, and this Sine 12-volt. At first glance, the second one looks like an amazing deal, but when things are too good to be true, they probably are. The micro solar is a pure sine wave, while the Sine is a modified sine wave. So what does that mean? Well, here's where it gets a little bit tricky. The primary job of an inverter is to convert the DC, direct current, power from the battery bank to AC, alternating current, which is the power needed for most appliances. To do that, it must take the constant DC voltage and change it to a sine wave curve that goes above and below 0 watts. When inverters first came out, the most common way to do this was to make the voltage go straight up and down, creating a kind of blocky signal. This is called a modified sine wave. More advanced modified sine waves make multiple steps, trying to come close to a pure sine wave. Modified sine wave inverters are great for simple systems that don't have any delicate electronics or audio equipment that may pick up the choppy wave and produce a hum. Old tube TVs and monitors are usually okay with modified sine wave. Your digital clock will likely act funky, and battery rechargers quite often just won't work with modified sine wave. Some equipment seems to be working fine, but it may run hotter than with a pure sine wave, and that reduces the lifespan of it. Now, I don't have any digital clocks or an LED TV in my van, but I do have sensitive recording equipment and a laptop. If you're buying an inverter, odds are you have some newer tech that also needs a pure sine wave inverter. Pure sine wave inverter also provides better and cleaner power, which is needed for some newer electronics and things that use motors, like shavers. A lot of motors, like you find in fans, do not like the modified waves. And I've got two types of fans running. Even coffee pots are better with a pure sine wave, as they can pull the maximum power. Yeah, both of the inverters that I looked at are from China, but there's still a difference between the modified and the pure sine wave. You could make a solid argument to go with the cheaper inverter, and it will come down to what you want to power with your inverter. Pure sine is a little bit more expensive, but for me, it was worth it. So now you kind of have an idea if you need a pure sine wave or a modified sine wave inverter. We can look at the wattage we need next. There are two main numbers to look at while you're sizing this. You've got the continuous watts and the surge watts. Continuous watts are pretty simple. It's what the inverter can pump out, well, continuously. Surge watts are the max that can be pumped out in short bursts. Now, this is normally when appliances first start up. Here's some simple examples to give you an idea. A cell phone takes 50 watts. A DVD player takes 50 to 100. A desktop computer and monitor takes about 125. A laptop can vary anywhere from 20 to 150. An iPad takes about 100 watts. Here's where it gets different. A coffee maker, 1,000 watts. Toaster oven, 1,500 watts, although a regular toaster only takes 800. A vacuum, I don't know why you're going to have a huge, big vacuum in your camper van, but it takes 1,200 watts. A microwave, which everybody wants, many of them are around 2,000 watts. The pattern here is that things that change temperature not only consume a lot of power, but also take a lot of it in one bite. Now, I know not many people are going to run a laser printer in their camper van, but many people do want a microwave, and that's very costly in terms of wattage and power. Now, since we're using a 12-volt battery system, we get a 12-volt inverter. There's other common sizes, of course, and that's like 24 and 48 volts. Most of the time, it's in multiples of 12. So we see the solar comes in here, then it comes out through the batteries. These are wired in parallel. And then from the batteries, we get the inverter that's back here. It wires back through here. Here we have the inverter mounted upside down, so the plugs can be out this way. It's cool. It's got a USB. It's got an on and off. It's got this cable that goes to a little control panel for it. And we see back through here, that's where it's wired. It's important to note that inverters aren't perfect in their conversion. They take a bit of power to do the conversion. Like when you use PayPal, they take a cut of your money. It's not a lot, but it's something to be aware of when you're draining your batteries. Make sure to turn your inverter off when not in use. Mine came with this remote switch for it. It's pretty cool, although the normal switch on the actual inverter is accessible for me anyway. The cable for this remote is super long and kind of gets in the way. I'll probably end up taking it off. I don't really need it. Here's a quick way to just get an estimate of what size inverter you should get. Look at the wattage rating for the appliances you want to run, and then just make sure your inverter can cover the surge wattage of those items. But now I'm going to go in a completely different direction and throw you for a big twist. Many people don't even need an inverter. They need DC adapters, car chargers, things like that. Buying the car charger for your laptop and plugging it straight into the fuse box for your 12-volt system may be all you need. Or even plugging it into your van's outlet when you drive. I don't use a lot of normal plug in my day-to-day life, but it was just the right amount of things that I thought it would be worth it to get an inverter. Now I went with the Micro Solar 12-volt, 1000 watts, peak 2000 watts inverter. Now looking back, I couldn't find the same one on Amazon to send you a link for it, but I found one that I think is as close as possible. In fact, it's even a little bit cheaper than the one I got, and the link for that is down below. Do you like my recording studio?